Hello, this is Stephen Nichols, and I'm from Mission Critical Systems. We're a SharePoint development company based here in Denver, Colorado, and I have a quick video for you today talking about 8 ways to work with data using SharePoint. So SharePoint is a central collaboration tool for talking about things like projects, clients, meetings, documents, workflows, really any type of content that a company might be engaged with, and data is no different. SharePoint has a few different tools for managing data and for communicating data and its results and reports to people inside and outside of the organization. We'll start off with custom lists as a very simple example of that. This looks very much like an Excel spreadsheet. The column headers are, of course, completely customizable to whatever you'd have, and the row data is something that can be filled in by really anyone with the security privilege to be able to do that. There are some tools for doing things like calculating the values of some of the columns. You might multiply 2 columns together, for example, to show some data that way. And you can also do things like interrelate 2 lists together. So I might have a list of all the cities and counties somewhere else on the SharePoint site, and then reference that list here on the properties list, so that I have that data automatically populated, and there's no danger of someone, putting in bad data or fat fingering something. I can also go through and interact with it too by clicking on each of the column headers. I can sort and filter. So it does have some functionality like that for Excel, but it's just like a really light version of Excel. That might be a pretty good analog for describing this. Now, sometimes that data gets complex or large enough that I want to take that out of SharePoint and put it into Excel. And SharePoint has tools for that with the Export to Excel button. And there it is, the data showing up in Excel. I also have the option of taking it into Project or Access. If I click on Access, it's going to give me a little warning window asking me how I want to import it. I click through that, and it shows up as another table in Access. So that's a way of maybe you need some higher level calculation or some higher level work with the data, and you can pull it into Microsoft Office to be able to do so. Now, you can also do some links with Excel and Access, and this is where things really get interesting. Because if I get back to this window and I were to choose Link to Data on the SharePoint site, then what that does is create a live connection. So I might have an Excel spreadsheet or an Access database that's sitting in one place, and then people and even computers are updating a SharePoint list, and that data is being brought into Excel. Then from Excel, I might also have SQL data being brought into Excel too, or Access data for that matter, and maybe there's some manual entry coming into it as well. From Excel, I can generate the reports that I need, and those reports can be posted back up to SharePoint for the business executives or the business managers to be able to look at and get that information. So it's a SharePoint list ends up being just another way of entering in more data to ultimately generate reports and track things within SharePoint. So Excel works, Access works the same, and those are both fine tools for using a SharePoint list as well. So in some cases, you might just want to have Access or Excel actually in the SharePoint window because you don't want it to go through and download or export the data into those programs every time you use it. And SharePoint has tools for that too. This is Access Services. You can see kind of a light version of Access here, where it has the data that might be entered into it. I can pull reports off of it. I can enter data through Access Services and interact with that. I have something similar with Excel Services where I can create those reports that I have, and or even this could be just a spreadsheet view too, where people can type in information, and that's all delivered through Excel Services, which is just an enterprise feature for SharePoint 2013. Now this gets us into what we call a dashboard, a business intelligence dashboard. Now, a business intelligence dashboard is really just taking data from a multitude of different sources and being able to publish that on an interactive dashboard on a SharePoint site. So this, for example, is data that might come from a SQL database or Oracle or some other source like that. And it's interactive in the sense that if I were to click on the San Joaquin circle up there, it would change the report to show just the San Joaquin data. On the right-hand side, you also see filters there, and I can check and uncheck those boxes, and that'll change the data as well and give me different views of the same information. I can do things like a business intelligence map as well, and this is kind of a nice flashy feature for it, but through an Excel tool and through SharePoint, it's actually able to read addresses. You don't have to go through and put latitude and longitude for these reports to be generated. But when you put that information in and you say, show me a map of this information, it will create reports that are just like this, and they're interactive in the same sense that the last report I showed with the pivot chart feature was. There's a heat map, for example, that might be available for you. This is a video I created for all the training registrations that happened for our company over the past 2 years, and where the companies that sent people were located. You'll see the kind of the yellow-orange bars. Those are for the tech center location, and the blue bars are going to be for the downtown location. And that's kind of a neat way to see that. You can also have it be stacked permanent bars, so you can see where all your clients are. And there's really just a myriad of features of how these things could be created and what exactly that would look like. In any case, that was 8 ideas for working with data within SharePoint, and there are many, many other ideas. Business intelligence is a whole branch of SharePoint development, and I'd love to talk to you about that. If you have questions or just want to talk through SharePoint, I'd be happy to talk to you, so please do reach out. My contact information is right there. In any case, thank you very much for your time, and best of luck with your SharePoint project.